Welcome back to Sports Illustrated's College Hoops Weekly, presented by Jif. I'm your host, Claudette Montana, joined by SI College basketball writer Emma Bachelari to break down the March Madness women's bracket. All right, Emma, let's get into it. Give us your initial overall thoughts on this bracket that was just released a couple of minutes ago.
What jumped out to me immediately is probably the same thing that jumped out to everyone else. It is that potential Elite Eight matchup between USC and UConn. A matchup I thought we might have a chance to see in the Final Four, but instead we're getting it in the Elite Eight potentially, just as we did last year. Another surprise that stood out to me was across the bracket, we have Notre Dame as a 3 seed. This was a team that was number 1 in the country not long ago, but with the way they finished the season, a couple of tough losses, they now are going to have to duke it out as number 3 in a region where they have number 1 seed Texas and TCU right under them.
And now for our difference maker of the day. Jif makes the difference when trying to save the celery. Let's take a look at the difference makers of the tournament. So many good women's teams. I'm so excited for March Madness to kick off. What region has the easiest path and which is the hardest in your opinion?
The easiest, I'm going to go with Birmingham 2. South Carolina had a good case to be the overall number 1 seed. They did not get that. That went to UCLA. But even though South Carolina ended up number 2, I do think they have the easiest path here. The number 2 seed in their region is Duke, who has a really tough defensive identity that can be tricky for teams to crack. But South Carolina also has a really strong, tough defensive identity, best defense in the country. And when we're looking at difference makers there, something that always just stands out to me about this Gamecocks team is that their 2 leading scorers both come off the bench. You have Mylasia Fulwiley and Joyce Edwards, 2 really strong young talents who can be really great difference makers. And when you're talking about that depth, 2 scorers like that coming off the bench, that is so hard to beat, even against a team like Duke's defense. The hardest, I'm going to go with Spokane 4. That is that USC-UConn potential matchup. Again, we saw that last year, Paige Beckers, Juju Watkins, amazing stuff. But for the difference maker here, I'm going to go with the player who was not on the court last year. That is UConn freshman Sarah Strong. You know, she's had an incredible freshman season, and I think really when we see these 2 teams come up against each other this time, she could be the difference.
All right, looking forward to an awesome March Madness. Emma, thanks so much for breaking it all down. Appreciate it.